Hello everyone, this is TheNelston and welcome back to another video. Today I'm here to talk a little bit about the Wynncraft 2.1 trailer. Now I know I said that my last morph video was going to be the final one I did for a little bit of time, but I realized that since I'm going out traveling, I do need a little bit of pocket money, so what better way to do that than to clickbait some people with a really crappy unedited video. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and get straight into this. Full disclaimer, I've already watched the trailer, so this is going to be more of a breakdown than it is really anything else. So let's go ahead and click the upcoming major update. And there's this really flashy, little animation. You can scroll down and we begin. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and break down the trailer really quickly. As I mentioned, I've already seen this, so there's nothing really too surprising for me here. If you guys want to watch the whole thing, feel free to go watch it yourself on YouTube. I don't really see the need to play it in its entirety. This first little part I think is really cool. Just showcases that Orpheon has a new model. I think this new one is significantly better than the old one. So, I mean, there's not too much to say here. I think the tail looks a little worse, but everything else is better. Apart from that, yeah, I think there are some changes in terms of new builds. I think Mount Wynn now looks awesome. It has a lot of detail, looks really solid. This world event thing has something that I've been waiting for a long time. I don't know if you guys remember, I did a little travel video a while back, basically critiquing the state of travel in Wynncraft, and I mentioned offhandedly that world events would be a really cool way of getting people engaged with, Wynncraft beyond the simple raids and wars and stuff. And I'm really glad that they added it. Now, I don't think it's because of me. I don't want to take any credit for that, but I'm definitely glad to see that it is here. And as you guys have seen, new nether portal, really cool new boss, looks spooky, definitely going to be kind of scared of that running at me. I think the crawling Greg is something that a lot of people have also voiced some concerns about. I do want to say that the kind of idea of Greg as this floating overlord, spooky fellow who's really, smart and whatnot, is definitely something that we came up with as a community. CTs have already mentioned that this isn't something that was originally intended. In fact, the old Greg was supposed to have legs, but they just, couldn't animate it properly. So honestly, I don't really see a problem with this. I think the crawling animation looks great. Maybe it's a little bit off-putting at first since we're so used to floating Greg, but hey, I'm sure it'll get better once we get more used to it. In addition to that, I mean, all the other mobs have gotten reworks. Slycar, I think that is. This is the Annihilation. This is the Groot Worm, Groot Slaying, whatever. TCC is another thing I'm a little bit kind of about. I kind of preferred having the world statue actually move. It felt a lot more immersive that way. But again, whatever. I mean, it's it's already said and done at this point. So I just think the model needs a little bit of work is all. All of these bosses look incredible. I think these are going to be really fun. I think the new party finder menu is good. I will say, and I'm going to talk about this in a little bit, I do have some concerns about the direction that the UI is taking. It looks really kind of plasticky to me, but I'll talk about that later. It's not a big deal right now. Let's just focus on the trailer. EO is getting a rework. I think that's going to be pretty cool. I don't really know how to feel about that. Again, kind of the same stance I have with the TCC, which is that I like the fact that the world was kind of coming alive, right? The blocks were moving, that kind of thing is really engaging to me. These don't really feel like, especially the I and TCC, all the other stuff is fine, but just those two bosses just don't really feel right. I don't know. Again, I'm in the minority here, so whatever. New threats. I think this animation is super cool. I can't wait to see this in game, eventually anyways. Again, yeah, we've already talked about these. These are awesome. I do want to say though, and this is something I want to point out, it looks like the focal point of the trailer was really centered on the new mob models, the new bosses, and all that stuff. I do want to say that this does feel like Wynncraft is playing a little bit of catch up here. If you guys have played any other MMORPGs, Terminus, for example, comes to mind. A lot of these MMORPGs and Minecraft MMORPGs already have really cool 3D models. I know Origin Realms also has something similar. So if anything, this really just feels like Wynncraft is finally modernizing. It doesn't feel like the kind of insane overhype thing that they were promising like prior to the actual trailer release. If you guys remember, Wynncraft put out a tweet that was like the whole Minecraft community is going to want to see this, and the update in question is just them catching up with other servers. Now again, I don't want to say that this update looks bad. I don't want to say that this is like not a direction that Wynncraft should be taking. I absolutely think that this is a wonderful change, and I'm really looking forward to what they do with the new mob system, but it definitely is not the insanely overhyped update that I think they promised us. And again, maybe, I'll eat my words once the actual update comes out and things change, but it just kind of feels like, it's pretty stock standard as far as MMORPGs and like modern servers go. So I will have to see how things go. I did also mention this in a Discord earlier, and I don't want to, I'm not going to be putting any screenshots into this video in case you guys couldn't tell, but I did mention earlier that the one thing that Wynncraft really has going for it that sets it apart from all the other pure MMORPG servers, so that doesn't include Hypixel or anything, is that it has a massive player base. I mean, it has like 100 times the player base of the next competitor, maybe 10 times now, but you get my point, right? Like, the idea is that they have so many people who will play regardless that I really want to see them use that as kind of a launching point or a focal point for future updates, right? Their main selling point, Wynncraft's, in my opinion, Wynncraft's main selling point is that it's old, it's prestigious, and it has a hell of a lot of players. And if they can really capitalize on that, really take advantage of that, like for example, I don't know, adding like 8-person raids, or more dungeon entry, like maybe make each dungeon key like 8 people in as opposed to 4, whatever it is, just adding more like large scale things. I think world events are a good step in that direction, perfect example, but I really want to see more, taking advantage of the large player base, if that makes sense. And so of course, as I've mentioned before, wars is a really good example of a way to do that. Raids, of course, too, and we'll talk about that soon because there are some really nice changes that I'm personally looking forward to. In addition, all these bosses, they're cool. Crawling Greg is Crawling Greg. These animals are adorable. It almost makes me feel bad about having to kill them in game, but I'm still going to do it. Need that XP, right? That robot looks awesome. I'm probably going to shit my pants when I see it like running at me in Corcus, to be completely honest, but hey, you know what? We'll see. But as they've mentioned, it's really modernizing, and the UI is actually something I want to talk about. I'm not a fan. This is something that I think I've made pretty clear in different discussions I've had with people. I think it looks like, it kind of looks almost tacky, to be completely honest. I've mentioned before, like the blacksmith menu, for example, looks like Stardew Valley. It just feels kind of plasticky to me. And I mean, maybe it will look better once you get used to it. I'm sure it's not as big of a deal as I'm making it out to be, and personally, if I really feel like it, I'm probably just going to download a texture pack. Like, it's it's no big deal. But I don't know, like the direction that they've taken ever since the loot run changes have just not really been to my taste. The other thing I also don't really like is the way that they set up the the clicks. They change the clicks from telling you R for right and L for left into the actual mouse button themselves. I don't really like that. Again, I just think the RL whatever is just way better. Again, I have heard some rumors that this is in preparation for potentially new ways of casting spells that don't just involve clicking. So maybe we'll have to see how that goes. But it's not that big of a deal. Like, again, the UI is kind of not to my taste, but it's whatever. Like, it's not the centerpiece of the update, so I don't really see a point in dwelling on it. Again, the UI, including like enemy health bars, just looks a little strange. Not my cup of tea, but whatever. I'm not, developer. Music, you guys can listen to this. I'll let you guys figure it out. It's awesome. That's all I gotta say. TP scrolls. Now, this is something I also mentioned in my old video about, travel. I think this is a really good change. I mean, and this is also just, aside from the fact that soul points as a system sucks, and I'm glad that they're gone, this is just a really neat change. I think that teleport scrolls should have some kind of charge up effect, right? They should definitely not just be, unconditional get out of jail free cards. I definitely think that having them have charges is something that's another really solid change, right? Letting it slowly regen over time. So you're more thoughtful about how you move and where you move is definitely going to give fast travels a lot more love. Really, I mean, this update is massive just in the sense that it covers a lot of the concerns I had in my old videos about travel. So honestly, big ups to the Wynncraft team for doing this. Again, I don't think any of this is as a direct result of my, complaining and like old man grumpiness, but I'm glad to see that things have changed regardless. Yeah, they mentioned soul points. That's cool. Scrap. I don't really care, to be frank. I don't really care. Scrap was typically bought, like, you normally just got scrap by buying it off the trade market anyways. I guess the one thing that this will change is maybe Iron Man characters, Ultimate Iron Man characters will have to carry around less stuff, which I think may be the main target audience, if anything. But honestly, I don't really care. Like, whatever, scrap was already bought for me with emeralds anyways. It's not like this changes much. It just removes an intermediary step. I will say though that, people who used to like run stuff for scrap and then sell, sell the scrap for money, unfortunately you can't do that anymore. And also, champions can't use the scrap, like the pet scrap feature to get an edge over other loot runners, which, does kind of suck, but whatever. No tears shed here, honestly. The new exit menu looks awesome. It looks better than the Windtills one now, which, it should. So I'm very happy to see that. Raids being reworked is, great. Again, as I mentioned, TCC iffy on, but maybe it'll grow on me. Groot Slaying looks awesome. The Orpheon looks awesome. Greg looks awesome. Not much to say here. Yeah, improve raids. This is really cool. Again, I'm glad to see that there's no more particle spam. If you guys remember, I complain very often about how like laggy and buggy Nexus of Light is, so I'm glad to see that it looks like playable now. There's not like minion spam, there's no like 3 blood runes on the ground, there's no crazy shit happening. I just think this is a really solid, straightforward change for Nexus of Light, and I'm glad to see it. As I mentioned, also new AI, new scaling raids. This is something that I also am really looking forward to. I know that one of my complaints was originally that a lot of raids just didn't feel like important because after you ran them at level, you just wouldn't run them. Like, nobody's running Groot Slaying at level 105 except to help their friend or maybe to buy like symbionts or whatever, right? So I don't, really think that like this how do I put this? Like, I don't think this is gonna be the end all be all for raids. I definitely think more needs to be done to make all raids more accessible and better for everyone. But with that being said, I am glad to see that they do scale to your level now. So no more free carries. Womp womp. Raid Syndicate. Now this is another thing that's really cool. And also this bow, I just want to say, this isn't the focal point, but this bow is absolutely awesome. The bow model is sick. I love it. I don't know if this is a new skin or something, but really looking forward to it in game. The way that Greg moves is kind of funny. I like it. He has no legs. He's kind of like a Rock War veteran, but you know what? It's whatever. Gambits are something that I really wanted to talk about because I think that these are going to be a game changer. Now, I don't mean game changer in the sense of, they change your game literally. And of course, the new rewards and stuff are awesome, but I don't really care about that. What I want to focus on is the fact that this is for the first time in Wynncraft history going to force build diversity in a single raid. So what I mean by this, for example, is if you go through this and you look, right? Your spells cost at least 20 mana for each 1% HP you have. Increase your spells mana cost by 1%. Like, these changes are going to make it. So for example, let's say the Gambit in rotation is going to be something that affects like spells. People are going to be more inclined to use melee. And then, if the Gambit in rotation is melee, people are not going to do anything because everybody uses spell anyways. I just think these are really, really solid changes. I think this is awesome because it's going to promote build diversity. It's going to promote people using more than just, tier stack or more than just spell spam. They, hybrid builds, someone mentioned, might become more viable now that people are going to realize that they don't really want to switch between builds all the time to match with the current Gambit. I think overall this is an incredible change for a reason that not many people are talking about, which is that specifically it's going to increase build diversity by a lot. So I'm really looking forward to this. I think this is amazing. The extra, rewards, I don't really care, whatever. I mean, just do more raids, right? It's not that big of a deal. Improved party finder is sick. I think, as I mentioned before, I already talked about the party menu. Looks cool. I don't really have much to say about it. I think party finder is still gonna suck. I've done my best. I've done my part, okay? I've made a guide that's gonna be outdated in about a week or two, but it's a guide nonetheless. I've done my part to try to teach people how to raid, and so if it doesn't work out, no, I don't really know what to say, so yeah, party finder still kind of sucks, and I don't think it's going to be better with the new update, just because the skill level is still a concern. I don't know. Yeah, that's all I really have to say on that. Guild raids. I'm sure you guys have been waiting for my opinion on this, seeing as I'm the person that made the video about how guilds suck, and one of the things I explicitly mentioned in that video was that guild raids need to become a thing. This is awesome. I mean, come on, this is what I've been asking for. They added it in its entirety, guild raids for better rewards, a guild leaderboard, raiding guild competition. What I gotta say, I mean, this is perfect. This is what I was looking for. The only thing I do want to say is that I really hope that there is some system that encourages smaller guilds to participate, because the way I see it right now, the unfortunate reality is, again, the unfortunate reality is that big guilds are just going to be on the top of the leaderboard. It's the same thing with wars. It's not that wars are hard. It's not going to be that raids are hard. It's just that large guilds have more people, which means they can do more raids, they can do more wars, which means they're higher on the leaderboards. Yeah, I don't know. I really want to make sure that there is some kind of balancing feature, because if there isn't, small guilds are going to suffer again, and this is going to be the same situation as like guild tomes and like MSeek and all that. It's just large guilds are going to reap all the benefits of having more members. Small guilds won't be able to compete. It's just going to kind of suck, to be completely honest. It'll be a little better since you only need 4 people for a raid party, and each raid party can crank out a bunch of runs, and realistically I don't really see more than like 1 or 2 raid parties going on in any big guild at any given moment, so not a big deal on that front. But again, I really do hope there's some kind of balance for small guilds, because I want to look out for my small bros. Aspects. This is something that I think is gonna, I don't know, I don't really know how to feel about this. I've been thinking about it all day, and to be honest, I don't really know what to make of it yet. I know that these are definitely going to break wars the moment they come out. Personally, I don't even really care anymore if they break wars. Like, I'm kind of at the point where I don't give a shit if wars are broken. I don't give a shit if like anything breaks. All I really care about is that something is different in the meta, and it looks like we are going to have a different meta, which I think is great. People might disagree. They might say, oh, wars become too easy, maybe holding is going to be hard, whatever. I don't give a shit. Fuck off. Okay, all I gotta say is very simply, aspects are cool. All right, I said it. I think they're cool. It remains to be seen how balanced they're going to be, and based on what I've been seeing, I don't really think they're going to be all that balanced. Like, I mean, just look at some of these. This, okay, that's fine, whatever. Like this one mainly, like Grape Bomb gains +3 grapes, and that's like a tier 2. I mean, tier 4 is max, right? Tier 2, I can only assume that this is going to go up to like +6 or maybe more Grape Bombs, which is kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie, adding more Grape Bombs may not be the best thing in the world, especially its synergy with traps, but we'll have to see, right? And there's like other ones, that's whatever. This one is going to be interesting. I think more backstab range is definitely going to make wars a little bit easier, because you don't have to like kiss the tower anymore to hit your multi-hits. You can just kind of stand a little farther back, dodge aura easier, just like quality of life stuff. Like, I don't really see anything offensive in these. I think these all seem like fine, but again, we're gonna have to see how things shape out when the balance updates come. So yeah, it like mostly looks like range and stuff, like air shout, whatever, dude. It's not that deep. I don't really think that it's gonna break the game like a lot of people claim, but it might, cause some wonky stuff on release. Now, world events, as I've already mentioned before, are gonna be cool. The Maui, whatever, dude, something head, looks sick. I love the little like gremlin Geodudes. Those things are really cute. I want one as a pet. This like, Stykrix, I don't remember. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like the birds from Ice and Fire, the Ice and Fire mod? That's like what the birds kind of look like. Those look cool. I mean, yeah, I'm a big fan. I think world events are going to be awesome. I definitely think that adding rare mob ingredients to these, runes and keys, is going to be awesome. Rare mobs currently suck. They're one of the worst systems in the game, in my opinion. They actively encourage cheating, and I just feel like having a new way to get rare ingredients and stuff is going to be really critical. Not to mention, this also gives the opportunity for Linny Flower, who is the wonderful item CT who works on ingredients, more opportunities to add new rare drops. So yeah, I'm looking forward to see what's done with these. Major world events are going to be cool. I don't know what the corrupted caches are going to do necessarily, but looking forward to it. Hopefully they have a chance to drop in mythics, so you don't only have to rely on, like, you know, loot running and stuff. The fight looks like some shit straight out of Doom. I just gotta say, like, that's dope as hell. I think it's cool. You know, he's got his little pointer finger. He's like my balls, you know, like the fucking Ozymandias. What? Dude, I'm brain rotted. I don't even know anymore. You guys know what I'm talking about. Like that scene where the guy's like, you know, Steve Jobs died of ligma. And then who the hell is Steve Jobs? Ligma balls. You guys know what I'm talking about. Whatever. I'm rambling here. Let's move on to the next thing. Content improvements, 30 to 39 quests. I'm gonna be honest with you. I never really thought about the level 30 to 39 quests. I haven't really like had a problem with them. That may just be because I power level from 30 to 39 with, like, you know, the spiders and Levigar. So maybe I just don't really know. But I mean, it looks cool, you know, and the new Sandstorm Tomb boss fight looks pretty awesome. Yeah, I mean, what I gotta say, pretty straightforward. Dungeons are, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna be curious about how Fallen Factory is gonna look, because I mean, it's so big that I'm not sure they're going to be able to recreate it as a custom model necessarily yet. I may be mistaken. We'll have to see. But I do definitely like, again, as I mentioned, functional builds. So I really kind of hope that they keep Fallen Factory the way that it is now. Second Chance is also awesome. This is because if you guys have ever done the parkour on corrupted, what is it, Undergrowth Ruins, you guys know, like, that one slime parkour part, and if you accidentally like press shift or something, or, you know, you lag and you fall in the slime block, you just like die of fall damage and you just lose all your progress. It kind of sucks, and I'm glad that there's like a second chance now, because that has happened to me so many times. Or, you know, you get stuck in the floor or whatever, and then you have to slash kill to get out, and all of your progress gets voided. It just sucks. I don't think this is gonna fix corrupted dungeons. I don't think this is gonna fix like the forgery in any meaningful way. I think that it's still gonna kind of suck. But with that being said, having the second chance is gonna be awesome. And as I've mentioned already, like, you know, previously, the builds look great. I mean, that some of these builds were really showing their age. But I mean, Mount Wynn, you know, some of the other things that they've mentioned already, the Deadless Suburbs and whatnot, they definitely needed a touch up. So I'm really glad to see this. I think these are incredible builds. Our build team is obviously incredibly talented, so they've done a great job. And yeah, I mean, that boat, for example, just looks sick. All right, new content. Let's talk about this. First off, the items. Wanderer's Purpose. I just want to put this out there. I hope and I pray that this, like, major ID never comes off of a weapon, because if this becomes, like, you know, an armor piece, for example, and you can use this with Epoch, oh god, I mean, I don't think I have to tell you guys, like, you know, right now, the one saving grace I would say is that double shots is the way that a lot of people go with Epoch, because it's a lot easier to play. But imagine, like, triple shots Epoch becomes, you know, as easy to play as double shots Epoch, but it obviously does like 1.5, 1.6 times damage. I just think this is, like, gonna be absurd. I really hope this stays, because this is a bow, right? This is like just a separate standalone item. The other thing I am slightly concerned about, though, is the fact that the average DPS is already this high. I think Epoch's is around like 840 or so, if I'm not mistaken, maybe a little bit lower, maybe a little bit higher, I don't remember. But this has access to rage, because look, it has built-in earth damage, it has 3 powder slots. Rage with this is gonna be a little bit silly. Rage, hybrid, because it's very slow, not super slow, you know, and it's got mana seal and whatnot, plus 30% main attack as well. I'm just concerned that this is going to become like way too strong of a weapon. Again, I might be wrong, but I'm not personally a fan of anything that makes tier stack archer even easier than it is to use right now. I think it's a little bit absurd is all I have to say. Akali, I mean, who cares? I'm gonna be so honest with you. Nobody cares. Dissolution, just whatever, dude. Do you know anybody that actually relies on dissolution? I'm sorry, but this is like a level 87 item, has no skill points, has no offensive stats, gives health regen, water defense, and like minus walk speed. I'm not sold on it, but maybe we'll see. Whirling Gyre? Violent Vortex applies 2 marks to every enemy it hits. Again, I mean, it's like fine, I'm sure, based on the health. It's going to be an armor piece. 75 intelligence. I mean, pretty stock standard. Raw spell damage is going to be awesome though. Water spell is pretty good too. I guess this might be like, you know, a Nirvana kind of weapon. I don't know. I think Violent Vortex is not... Okay, so Violent Vortex, just for people who are, you know, perhaps not so up to date on class building, Violent Vortex is one of those things that doesn't really see much use outside of very niche cases, in my opinion, I think, because, you know, most people don't play Shade Stepper anyways, and Violent Vortex is one of the things that gives Shade Stepper like a little bit of extra AoE, and so I think what really Violent Vortex is useful for is like killing mobs in wars. So that's like the main purpose that I've seen it used for. So I don't really know how useful applying 2 marks is going to be. I might be wrong though. Again, we'll have to see, but this just feels more like a flavor kind of item to me, especially with the +8 spin attack cost. That's definitely going to make it much more of a hard sell. Equitus is cool. I mean, come on, high level cavalryman item. Yeah, it's about time we got something besides Galloping Spurs, so I'm glad to see this. I don't really know what it's going to be used for necessarily. It does look like a nice, like, you know, you can wear it while you're on horseback and then, like, for example, use Abso to heal party members at Scrapyard, and, you know, you have it so you don't get knocked around by mobs because you're on a horse. You know, just seems cool. And again, you know, having an item with cavalrymen that doesn't require you to either be low level or, you know, have strength invested definitely seems nice. And then Echoes of the Lost. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't really know how to feel about this. This is like a like a heavy melee. I guess it's cool though. I will say this. It is cool. Epoch heavy melee, anybody, right? Like, I think this is sick because I think sorcery does have the chance to recast, if I'm not mistaken, main attacks as well, and like powder specials, even not powder special, sorry, that was removed to 1.20, but yeah, like main attack stuff is going to be recast, which I think is a really cool like flat DPS buff. So hey, I mean, cool item, right? Definitely be very useful for heavy melee, definitely be very useful for Epoch heavy melee, which is personally one of my favorite heavy melee types, just because who the hell uses Epoch with heavy melee? Most people run you know, tier stack. Reworked abilities. This is something that I'm really looking forward to. So let's talk about all these, because as we all know, I haven't rambled on enough. First off, Sunflare. I think this is going to be sick. I think this is like interesting. This is going to be the second ability in the game after Reinvigorating Wave, which regenerates ally mana. I do worry that this is going to make a Lament a little bit too overpowered. Just like, though Phantom Orb is attacking constantly, the regen, the health, I just think that it's going to be a little too strong for solo Lament in Wars, which, as you guys probably already know, is incredibly strong. So I don't know. I mean, it's like cool, I guess. But you know, I do worry about the balance implications, but I am glad that Lightbender is getting a little bit of love. And by the way, I do want to mention that the balance implications are more so along the lines of balance in Wars. In every other content, it's going to be great. Shadow Siphon reduces Vanish's cooldown by 1.5 seconds after striking an enemy from behind with Backstab. I think this is going to be great my personal opinion is that this should just be removes Vanish's cooldown, period. When you hit a backstab, just remove it. I don't really see a problem with that, to be completely honest with you, especially since mobs now have a dynamic model, which means, you know, they're going to be turning their heads towards you if you're not in Vanish. I don't see a problem whatsoever with like just outright removing Vanish. I think that's the main thing that has been kind of holding back Shade Stepper, is that it doesn't really have a get out of jail free card if you don't insta one-shot a mob. This only kind of like remediates the situation. It doesn't completely fix it. So I'd like to see it just removed, like straight up. Maybe put it lower down on the ability tree if you're worried about balance in the early game, but you one-shot everything at low level anyways with tricks. It's not Trickster, sorry, Shade Stepper, so who the hell cares? Frog Dance, I think, okay, so this is pretty cool. I actually don't know if this means that you can just use like Haul as a standard movement spell now. I think that's what it means, based off the Frog Dance does not require a totem to be used. But yeah, I mean, it pretty much is the same as before, I think, so that's cool. Bloodlust is another thing that I'm kind of sad about. I think this will probably replace what was that thing? Invigorating blood? No, sorry. Whatever the blood thing was, you know, the one that restores your health after you leave corrupted. I'm a little sad if this does replace that. And this also doesn't really seem, how do I put this? It doesn't really seem like that meaningful of a buff, if that makes sense, because it's only a thing that you can activate like once realistically every 20 to 30 seconds, if even that, and it's not going to be a major source of damage. But what I will say is that I am looking forward to the way that it basically gives you a little bit of a free shield, almost like you kill the mobs around you so you have some room to maneuver based on how much health you have. I definitely think that is a good change, but again, I don't really see this being a particularly meaningful like ability node, and the fact that it also is a red node gives me a little bit of pause, because this doesn't feel like a red node. This doesn't feel very meaningful. Freezing Sigil is another really cool thing that I'm glad to see. You know, Lightbender getting some more love, Lightbender getting some more support utility is always going to be great. Allies standing on this sigil will be immune to knockback is huge. I cannot stress this. I think this is probably the biggest thing, if anything. The fact that it can slow enemies and also make people immune to knockback. Think about just how, like, you know, scrap parties go right now. Like, we all know that people spam Ice Snake, even though it lags the hell out of a server. But now those people spamming and crashing servers will actually have a legitimate excuse, which is that, oh, you know, I was using Freezing Sigil. I think this is a cool, like, ability. I don't really see this being a game changer necessarily, but ironically enough, even though it's a purple node, I see this being more of a game changer than the previous red node, Bloodlust. Chilling Snare. This is something that, again, is going to be pretty interesting. I think that, what is it? Attach an icy snare, drastically inhibiting and damaging nearby enemies every 0.2 seconds after it detonates. Duration 5 seconds, so it'll total hit, what, if I'm doing my math right, about 25 times. If each hit does 50% of your DPS and you do 25 times of a hit, that's what, 1,250% of your DPS. That I think we're gonna have to look at the balance on that. Again, I don't necessarily know if that's going to be a game changer when it comes to Archer. It certainly feels much more like a game changer given that it's a red node. But that is kind of crazy. Like 1,250% of your total DPS is kind of bonkers for a single ability. And the fact that it's multiplicative too, and I've already talked about multiplicative abilities in my 2.0 video, so you guys can watch that if you want to hear my opinion. But that's going to be definitely something to keep an eye out on, and especially 90% conditionless slow. That is a choice. I mean, the slows here, right? Like 60%, 90%. I don't think these are going to stack, but by God, like if you can just make every mob stand still like a statue, I mean, that will be crazy. New loot run missions. Okay, so starting with Chronokinesis, whatever. I mean, it's cool. Like, this just seems like one of those whatever abilities. Chests now give +1 pull. You get a maximum of like, even assuming this, you get this on your first mission, they'll give you a total of like what, 95 extra pulls. Not bad, nothing crazy, but also the removing the time thing does kind of suck. Porphyrophobia. I'm gonna assume that means fear of purples, and that's kind of what this ability, or sorry, this mission is. Blue beacons now give +1 pull. Giving offered a purple beacon gives you +1 curse. This is gonna be definitely interesting. I think it's gonna need a little bit of a buff. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. If getting offered a purple beacon and like not even taking it is enough to give this mission a trigger, I mean, realistically, once you get to like late loot runs, you get +1 purple beacon like appearing in your missions every single time. I don't know how I feel about this, honestly. Unless blue beacons now also cleanse you of a curse, this just feels like I might eat my words. That's all I'm gonna say. I might just eat my words here, but I don't know. Like, I guess I could see it synergizing with the one that if you open a flying chest, it gives you like cleansing curse. So this will make, you know, grabbing blue beacons, just stacking blue beacons more meta for whatchamacallit, for like materialism runs. I don't know. Like, I guess we'll see. I don't really feel good about this though. Jester's Trick though. Now this one is an absolute banger. This is a banger, like just straight up. This is awesome. After being offered 20 items for flying chests, randomly get +3 pulls, +1 boon, +1 curse, or +30 seconds. You have a 75% chance of getting something useful. I don't really know what to say about this other than this is gonna make materialism runs much better. So this is a little secret for anyone who's watched this far into the video. Invest in discoverers, because low-key, this is gonna make materialism runs a little bit better. This is gonna make materialism runs a lot better. Invest in discoverers. I'm serious. I think they will go up. And I might be wrong here. And I don't really have any discos to sell, so nothing to say, but yeah, I think this is gonna be a very nice change for any people with more than one disco and want to sell one. Loot run random events. Loot run random events. I mean, cool. Again, remains to be seen how this shapes out. We haven't gotten any extra info on this, so I'm just gonna assume that it's like cool. I'm gonna just say it's cool. Okay, I know the CT have been working really hard, so I'm gonna just give them the benefit of the doubt here. And then guilds. Now, this is something I'm like rubbing my hands, you know, salivating, thinking about what they could be doing, because guilds have long been, you know, you guys know how I feel about guilds. I don't think I have to explain this. Yeah, guild rating, again, hopefully they make it more balanced for small guilds, and other minor changes. With regards to what other minor changes means, we'll have to see. I'm really looking forward to it. Maybe, you know, more atomic guild permissions, maybe better eco, hopefully more war changes. I don't know, you know, maybe, right? But that doesn't feel very minor to me, so maybe I'm just gonna have to huff copium for another day. But yeah, I'm glad to see that they are changing guilds. I'm really excited for that, and I will definitely be in touch with the people working on guilds, because I will be sharing my 2 cents about guilds whether or not they like it. Store bundles, I mean, yeah, cool. It's like these are cool. These are cool cosmetics. I think the Orpheon pet is absolutely adorable. Like, look at this little fella. Look at this little scrimbly fella. His head is bigger than his entire fucking body. It's so cute. I'm not paying 30 bucks for it, but that's cool. Access to the beta is something that I think is going to be a really solid pickup. Just for anyone who's not aware, this does not mean that people with champion and hero cannot access the beta. It only means that people who don't have ranks can, for this one time, get access to the beta if they buy this pack. So think of it as like a kind of add-on, right? You're buying 4 Silver Bull shares for 20 bucks, and then you're getting a baby Orpheon pet for 10 bucks. I think this is like a good way to support the server. If you want to support the server, we have the cock and balls hat, which is awesome. But yeah, I think that's like cool. So not much to say on it. Definitely go support them if you want to. Otherwise, don't. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. They're definitely be talking about more stuff, but overall, my kind of like final thoughts, my summary here would be, I don't really think that this is as major of an update as they've been kind of selling it to be. Now, to be clear, this doesn't mean that I don't like the update. This doesn't mean that I, think that it sucks or whatever. I just think that it's more of Wynncraft playing catch up. So you guys get what I'm saying, right? Like, this isn't an update that adds a ton of new stuff that's, revolutionary to the Minecraft community. This isn't something that adds, like, an entirely new, never before seen mechanic or whatever. Like, all things considered, I am glad that they're doing this. Again, don't get me wrong. I'm glad that they're doing this update. I'm glad that they're modernizing everything. But this is definitely not the 2.1 that they were hyping us up for. This is not like crazy, this isn't some insane mind-boggling update. This is actually pretty non-boggling. This is pretty like par for the course. I feel like this is something that we've been expecting for a while now. That doesn't mean that it's any less impressive. If you guys, for example, let me scroll up a little bit, the TCC, people have mentioned this to me already. The TCC boss is huge. I don't know if you guys got a good look at that, but like, let me find it. Just let me see. Let me go to the video. Maybe the video will do a better job of this. Look how big. Like, look at that. That is huge, right? Like, dude, that is gonna be sick. I'm looking forward to it. Like, I think this is gonna be an awesome fight. Again, I don't really like that it doesn't. What you guys have heard this. I'm not gonna keep talking about it, but yeah, some of these models are massive. I mean, this boss fight too. If you guys saw the fighting earlier, like, that's just gonna be sick. So yeah, I think it's good that they're playing catch up, but it's kind of also not great that they're playing catch up, if that makes sense. Like, this is their, drop the update and then, like an absent father buying milk, we're gonna be gone for, like a year or two while we work on Fruma. Like, if this is the update that's supposed to tide us over until Fruma, I don't know. Like, I really do hope there's more in between, because this is definitely not enough, especially with how long Fruma is going to take to really finalize and do a good job on. They're going to have to add more stuff for sure. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for contributing to my ad revenue. I really do appreciate it. If you liked the video, make sure to leave a like. If you disliked it, please leave a dislike. I'm begging you. I really need that content engagement, so drop a dislike. Help me boost in the algorithm. And if you have a comment, please leave a comment too. If you have any questions, feel free to, leave a question. I can't answer anything. I'm not a CT. I'm not even media anymore, so God knows what I can really tell you. But hey, maybe someone else will know, right? And yeah, make sure to drop a subscribe if you want to get access to a dead channel that's not going to get any updates for another half a year. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video in, half a year. Bye-bye.